Welcome to the Nerd Party.
It's continued, darling. We are still doing our Doctor Who watch through, I guess.
Yes. Ordinarily, you'd think rewatch, but because all of these have aired long before our time, way before we were even considered being born. What year are we in?
1974. So
yes.
That's.
If we're looking at start date of December 28th, 1974, I was probably a very small fetus at that point.
Barely a zygote.
Yes.
We'll be talking Series 12, and that's the classic Series 12, the first of the Tom Baker era.
Yes.
So what did you think about continuing? You know, we did the Third Doctor together, because I had never seen it, or at least very few had seen. So that was sort of an adventure for me. With the Fourth Doctor, I've seen a few, And
we've seen a few. There were some that I recognized.
Well, we had seen Genesis of the Daleks in the movie theater, which I know it's been a while.
Yeah.
It's been in a movie theater.
It's been a long time. I've gotten off pissed, haven't I? I'm doing a totally different show now.
But, what did you think, just going right into it, what did you think of now we have a new Doctor, Tom Baker, who we've seen, but now you're seeing it in context when everything begins?
Yeah. No, so far I've actually enjoyed it. In typical Doctor Who fashion, I was like, no, Pertwee, I don't like this new Doctor. And now a season in, I'm like, okay. Yeah, the new guy might have some things to bring to the table. So, yeah, I enjoyed it. And I'll be honest, because we've been watching lots of extras and stuff, I quite enjoy Colin Baker.
Tom Baker.
Not Colin. I'm not going to enjoy Colin Baker, I don't think.
I think he's a very lovely person. His Doctor's not usually for me, but...
Yeah. It'll be interesting. I mean, we're not prepared yet. We don't have all the Blu-ray DVD extras and things for his seasons, but it'll be interesting to see.
Well, they're out there. I mean, I figured no reason to invest until we get there.
No, absolutely. That was not a criticism. I'm just saying, because when we watch, we do watch the extras, and with this one, there's a lot of Tom Baker in there. You get a sense of who the person is as well, and I think that's quite lovely, and I've enjoyed that throughout this sort of run. So it'll be interesting to see what Colin Baker's seasons bring to us.
Right, you'll get to hear from Nicole, and you'll get to hear all the
good
lovely Perry background.
Oh, I'm gonna hate it. Oh no.
Yeah. Now, of course, familiar with Doctor Who and Tom Baker and all that, but, I think the lovely thing, at least for me watching this, is, I try to look at it as we're sort of continuing our storyline from the Third Doctor, so it's new to me, I'm pretending like it's all new and how it flows, because I think that was sort of the great experiment for me with the Third Doctor. Does it flow? Is it just random stories? Is there some kind of character development? Which I think there is. But, so with this one thing that I think is interesting, and this is just differences, no criticism or critiques of doctors, because we'd be here all day with those. But I think the Fourth Doctor is a little bit more the gang, where I think the Third Doctor sort of often has that patrician thing. Don't get me wrong, he's very nice and lovely.
You think the Fourth Doctor has a fam?
I think so, a little. I mean, he still has his moments of, I'm a Time Lord, but at least this first season, they're very subdued. I think he's there with I was going to say Ian. Harry's the character.
Yeah.
They're with Harry and Sarah Jane. You know, and they're all buddies, which I think is very quickly done. You know,
ish.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, Harry does insist on calling her old girl, even though she has definitely raised objection.
Well, I was talking about for the Doctor's perspective,
Right? Yes. Yeah.
But I think that the team, because you know Harry is somewhat new to you, not that he's old hat to me, but I think that three really goes together. To my opinion, they come together very quickly. I mean, they work.
Yes. No, I agree. And I whilst I understand the concern about Harry, I quite enjoy him.
Mm-hmm.
I think that he could have well, and of course Sarah Jane goes as well soon, but I think that they could have kept him. And it still could have been a cohesive fam.
Yep.
Team.
Yeah, I get the, you know, as we've sort of heard, or it's been explained that Ian Marter was cast before Tom Baker was, because they thought it would be an older Doctor, and he would sort of be the younger type Ian.
The young adventurer.
I was going to say, who was the first Doctor? That was Ian, right? Even though that's the real Ian. But anyway, the character Ian. But anyway, I thought that would be an Ian and Barbara situation where you'd have the two young people. But then when Tom Baker was cast, who was, you know, I think early 40s, you know, you sort of already had the person who could do all the action sequences. So it was sort of felt that Ian did not have a lot to do. And so... Yeah,
but I think as a doctor, and therefore to an extent a scientist, I think he could have brought a different...
He's the Yaz.
Yeah. Absolutely. And Sarah Jane is definitely the Ryan a little bit. Particularly in this first season.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
And we had sort of a behind-the-scenes switch-off. So, you know, and I don't know, was it classic? You know, with New Who, it's a little bit different, but maybe it's the same with classic. I don't know. We're just this is our first journey, really, paying attention to these things. But we had the handoff to Phillip Hinchcliffe as the new producer, and then Bob Holmes as the new script editor, though he'd obviously been involved before with the Third Doctor era, but sort of taking that over formally from Terrence. And so we sort of have that new team. But I thought the interesting thing about this season, and I don't think it's a bad thing, but like, because you don't often hear it, like how heavily involved Philip was, like following Barry Letts the whole time. And then, and then even when I guess he felt comfortable, he still asked Barry to follow him while he was. So it's almost like a joint producer season where,
but that's such a lovely thing.
It's a good thing,
to be able to put into place that so few you don't get that in very many places, not just entertainment.
But I think Philip is very. I don't know how he was a producer, because obviously we're seeing him in 2018 or whenever these extras were filmed. He's very relaxed. You know, I don't know what to expect as a BBC producer, but watching him on the sofa with Tom and Liz Sladen's daughter, he's just seems like a relaxed guy. Yeah,
I like him. I enjoy those sofa sessions, as it were.
Because I get from Barry and Terry, like they're very much an artistic vision writers, whereas Philip, and he may very well be. I don't know his resume, but he just strikes me maybe more as a how to get things done producer. Yeah, I don't get like this is. I mean, well, he's had these things where he says, I don't mind doing this, and they gave me this, and I don't, and there are things I was trying to do, but I don't, no strong philosophy where he's coming from. Just more of like, I know a good story. Whereas I think with Barry and Terry, they had a philosophy of how they wanted things.
Yeah, and both of those, I mean, a philosophy's amazing, and fortunately, Barry and Terry were able to make that work. But if you don't know how to make things work, a philosophy's rather useless. And yeah, I kind of agree that he seemed to be more story-based rather than thematic-based, but that's not always a bad thing. I mean, one of my biggest complaints with the second season of the 13th Doctor is that it's all thematic, but I'm not sure they're great stories.
Right.
And so finding that middle ground is not a bad thing.
And I think the interesting thing about sort of classic Who behind the scenes, especially with Doctor regenerations, and only because we've seen it with the third Doctor, and now we're seeing a little bit with the fourth, is that, and again, I don't know if this will happen as we watch. I don't think so, because, well, not that we're there yet, but, once J&T arrives, he's, there till it ends. But anyway, that these new producers will come on with a new Doctor, but they still have old stories.
Yes.
And so, Phillip has basically been given, here's all your scripts, more or less. And he's like, oh, okay, all right, Daleks and Cyberman. And, which, we'll talk, they may have been very well good scripts, but it's kind of like, okay, well, I didn't know we were rehashing the old stuff. Well, let's see what we can do here,
Yeah.
And then I guess even with Ian, it kind of reminds me of the third Doctor with Liz Shaw. I remembered her name this time. That's not who Barry...
Not related to Tim Shaw. I feel like we need to mention that every time. Although it might be. This could come back up.
Where basically Barry Letts was like, I don't want her. At the end of the first season. Yeah. And then apparently with Phillip...
Also, she has a womb.
Yeah,
and I don't think we talked about that in advance.
And then basically it sounds like at the end of this, Phillip's basically going to tell Ian, no thanks.
Yeah.
So... So I guess we'll see what the next series has Phillip charting his own course. But
yes,
let's start with this series. Well, let's first, we mentioned him, but before we get into dive in it, what do you think of Harry Sullivan? Obviously, we've seen Sarah Jane before. So what do you think of old Harry? Like we said, you enjoyed him and his sort of contrasting style, the old...
I have, yeah. He's proper old school.
Uh-huh.
But, yeah, I have a lot. I think that he manages to walk the line of I'm very confused about what is happening but I'm a completely capable person and I'm going to figure this out. And I think that's I don't think it's easy.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he does it well.
He follows direction well. If the Doctor or the Sarah tells him to do something, he'll be like, well, okay, all right, well, okay, let me do a, medical checkup of this alien that I've never seen. All right, all right, tally-ho, all that. Okay, well, let's get into the episodes or the stories. So the first one is Robot. I'll read the first synopsis here. If you need we get back to it. Trouble is brewing once again. Top secret plans are being stolen with their guards killed. All evidence seems to point to the culprit being a sentient robot created by a think tank. However, his basic programming prevents him from killing, providing a contradiction to the clues. At the same time, the Doctor is recovering from his latest regeneration. Can he regain his senses and help units solve the case before time runs out?
Now, I'll be honest, this description...
Uh-huh.
I was right at the end of the description before I was like, oh yes, I know what episodes these were.
What's the one with the robot?
Yeah, and that the sentient robot, I was like, yeah, that's a weird description, because I don't remember a whole lot about the top secret plans being stolen and the guards killed.
Well, that was the beginning, because you got the camera perspective, you didn't know it was the killer robot, and then the arm would reach out and steal the plans.
Right, okay. Yeah, but that doesn't seem like the bulk of the story.
No. Well, and to me it seems, and this isn't a criticism, but just tonally as we go ahead, it did seem like a very third Doctor story.
Yes, and it's not my favorite.
Right, and it's a unit story.
Of this whole, yeah.
Which, and I don't say this by I looked anything up, but I feel like this is probably the last unit story. It may not be, but, this is the last one with the Brigadier and everyone. And
the bad guy's a good guy again.
Yeah, and all that stuff. So
yeah.
So
who was it?
Who, the bad guy?
Yeah, well, no, the bad guy that becomes the good guy. The good guy that was a bad guy, and
Yates.
then the good guy. Yates. Was it Yates? Yeah, I couldn't remember.
But then, but then you had Sergeant Benton, of course, and all that stuff.
No, absolutely. But Yates is the one that, we saw him last season, and he had turncoated, and oh no, this is terrible. And this time he sort of picks Sarah Jane up at the airport, and she's like, what are you doing here? And he's like, I'm good guy now. And she's like, okay. And we all move on.
We do.
Which is a strange story arc, but, never mind.
How do you think of the, we always have to do the Doctor going crazy from regeneration. How do you think they handled him becoming himself?
Yeah, you have the interesting, what sort of costume am I going to wear?
Right.
And
the montage.
yes, it's the typical shopping montage. Yep. I have not. Those are not things that I fret about a lot, and so I find those montages, when they have them, unhelpful. And not particularly... I mean, don't get me wrong, this was cute and it was comical and he comes out in all sorts of crazy little outfits and things like that. But, you know, I mean, even the 13th Doctor, when she goes into the thrift store and I don't necessarily feel like it needs to be a production. That feels over the top to me. So, that's how I feel about this. Love the story of the scarf.
Right.
The background story of they gave the costumer all of this yarn and was like, we need a scarf for the Doctor, and she used all the yarn, which is why the scarf is so long. That makes me giggle. But other than that,
I like how they do use it, though.
Use the scarf.
And they use it, like, right away. You know, it could be one of those things where it's like, you know, a piece of celery that they don't mention until the last serial after, like, 3 years. But, I mean, with
You got things you need to say? Do you need to get this off your chest? It's a little early.
Yeah. We got, like, 8 years or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, right away, he's using it as a tactical tool to trip the robot, which it didn't work. But, you know, he's aware of what he has.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and that was an interesting sequence. I mean, it's like an action sequence in as much as anything's an action sequence with the fight with the robot. But, I mean, it's and, you know, has the hat over it. He uses the scarf to, you know, Tom's showing he's got some moves. And
a nice contrast from all of the martial arts stuff.
That's true, yeah.
We get from the Third Doctor. So we get to see that contrast straight away. These are not things I do now. And I think that's fun. But yeah, as far as the costume picking outing, and
what about this part where the robot gets really big and grabs Sarah Jane, King Kong style, and she's obviously squirming in his hands?
It was all very realistic. Yeah. I loved that bit.
I mean, tank. Then there was the tank too.
Oh, the tank! The very realistic, and I'm sure must have been quite expensive tank. The filmmakers for this bit are playing a lot with perspective. And still learning.
That's right.
Bless their cotton socks.
Old CSO.
Yeah. Yeah, like I say, this is not my favorite.
You do have sort of the, you got your countdown, which you always enjoy an episode.
I do always enjoy we have 50 minutes until this bomb goes off. The stakes have never been higher. It's always fun.
And then the robot who loves too much or something. I don't know.
Anyway. Yeah. Interesting Frankenstein idea.
Frankenstein and King Kong.
I know. It's a hodgepodge right there. I find the scientist who created him to be rather problematic. He's delightful.
Right.
But he seems to go back and forth on which side he's on, and I just...
Yeah, they're a little Nazi-esque, or I don't know what they're whole...
Oh, no, I think they're very Nazi-esque.
There's something,
And I'd be interested in knowing the purpose behind it. Is it just a narrative tool, or were they trying to make a statement about something in 1974?
Technology or something?
Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, I find the scientist problematic. No, I don't mind a good guy with villain background or a villain with a heart of gold, or whatever you're going for. But this one just seemed to waffle.
Yeah, because it seemed like the reveal in whatever episode it was, where he comes on stage, oh, he's really the guy in charge of the whole techno-Nazis, whatever they are. And that was a bit of a, that was a reveal, because he really seemed like a nice, mad scientist. But then we're supposed to believe, I think, that he does actually have this relationship with his robot. Which I suppose both could be true.
And I was just going to say...
Hitler probably had a dog. I don't know. I don't know.
I kind of doubt it, but never mind. Yeah, I mean, I would not be opposed to both of those things being true if there were any sort of development with it. But there's not particularly, so meh.
All right, well, moving on to perhaps
Yes.
what begins maybe a more Fourth Doctor-y story. The Ark in Space. I'll let you do that synopsis.
Thank you. The TARDIS lands on a space station orbiting Earth in the distant future. It's seemingly deserted, but the Doctor, Sarah, and Harry soon discover that they are not alone. Thousands of humans are in cryogenic sleep, and while they've slept, their Ark has been invaded. A parasitic insect race, the Worm, have taken control and threaten the very future of mankind.
Yeah, so that was, they talked a little bit. We don't have to necessarily go into the set for this.
I was going to say, this is the first time we get a real discussion about the set being much, much, much smaller than we think.
Right, yeah, it's just like the corridor is just the corridor, which, they do that on Next Generation, in Star Trek.
Well,
eventually.
for me, it always makes me think about, and I didn't watch particularly with any sort of regularity, The Big Bang Theory.
Right.
But one of the running jokes was the elevator was always broken, so they were having to go up the stairs, and it was like 2 or 3 flights. But the set itself was just one set of stairs that they had to continually use, and for some reason, that's what this made me think of that, corridor that you get to the end of and you have to call cut and go back to the beginning so that you're going around again or something. So, yeah.
It was just an interesting thing of, I forget if it was Phillip or what producer or behind the scenes person it was. It was like, we hate the stage floor. So they decided, let's build a stage that's above.
Yeah.
Well, the floor is above the floor.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it works. This is not the robot
No.
being giant carrying around a very clearly wooden Sarah Jane. This absolutely works, and it's just an interesting sort of behind-the-scenes thing to know about later. Particularly because they will use this set again.
Well, if you're going to pay the money, why not?
Absolutely.
But, this is interesting. I like how they sort of, it's, like every good story basically is a Dungeons & Dragons campaign where you just have the 3 first show up, and then they have, like, Sarah gets locked in the room, and then there's the laser from the sky or from the ceiling that they have to Harry and the Doctor to
have
defeat.
To throw things at.
And Sarah gets transported. And it's a very solid, beginning to the story. It may sag a little once you get to odd looking bugs. But it was interesting. You get to meet the humans and all that stuff. So yeah,
absolutely,
the crazy human.
And it's. Whilst the next few episodes, or the next few sections of episodes, are clearly separate, they all sort of follow an arc.
Yeah.
Which I think is maybe the first time we've seen that.
I think so, yeah. I mean, I can't remember. I mean, we have to remember all the Third Doctor. I don't remember them necessarily threading any needles.
Yeah, and this feels like an overarching arc.
Yeah.
In a way that's interesting and not the silence.
Yeah, because, I mean, the arc is basically that they've lost the TARDIS. I mean, I say lose the TARDIS. They were using the transmat or the teleporter or whatever it was called in the arc. And basically, once they use that at the end of this story, they pretty much are just banging around the universe until the very end when they can get back to the TARDIS. So, yeah, it's just like, they basically beam away or ring transport away or whatever.
Yeah,
so.
But the TARDIS is not in use, and so there are other. And then the final episode, they end up back on this ship,
and it's odd when you think about it. It's basically almost a TARDIS-less season. So
yeah. I mean,
I don't even notice it, but I mean that's true. Basically.
I don't think we see the inside of it at all.
No,
that's what I was gonna. Yeah, we don't see the inside of the TARDIS at all in this season.
Which by this time we were sort of slightly spoiled that we have. I mean, we barely ever saw it in the Third Doctor until the end.
Yes, yeah, yeah, that's certainly true, and maybe that's part of it. They were using their budget for other things, and that's okay. I can live with that.
Sure. So, moving on to the Sontaran experiment. Shall you do again?
Yes. Arriving on a seemingly deserted Earth, the Doctor, Sarah, and Harry soon discover a crew of shipwrecked astronauts from a distant Earth colony. Lured there by a fake distress call, the astronauts are being experimented on by the deadly Sontarans in preparation of a full-scale invasion of the planet. Can the Doctor defeat Sontaran Field Major Steyer, and save the world? Just for the record, spoiler alert, yes, he can.
Okay.
Sorry, was that not okay?
But I do like, again, it's a little thing, but I do like how they're world building. You know, the space station was in space because Earth was, I don't know, radiated or something. I forget for the moment. So there's no one living on it, you know, quote unquote. Of course, now there is. We learn there is. But anyway, so now we beam down to Earth to see what's been going on. So we're still in that same world from a previous serial. And now we're on the Earth, and now we see all the going
and there are bits and pieces, and you have that moment of, oh yes, Trafalgar Square is that way, and it's this giant open field.
What do you think of using this on? This is only the second return. You know, this is the return of the Sontaran, the sophomore attempt. And I think one thing that's interesting, and I'm trying to think about it with Sontaran, not a Sontaran expert, but I believe we usually only see one. You know, because you think about like Cyberman, you're thinking about Daleks, you're thinking about any other. Yeah. No, I'm sure I'll say this, I'll be wrong. Other than like the Master or something. But it's not often you get like the enemy, broadly speaking, who's often just a single person. You know, it's not like there's just one Dalek.
Or a single
one
thing.
Cyberman.
Yeah.
But there's usually only one Sontaran.
To be fair, I think the Weeping Angels, there are always more than one in the episode, but it's usually one that's a threat at a time.
Right.
So again, that sort of threads that needle and straddles that line. We do actually have two Sontarans. We just have one actually on Earth and the other up in the spaceship. Yes. I don't mind the Sontarans. Again, I think that's partly because we only see one at a time. You know, you don't get any sort of individual personalities from the Daleks or the Cybermen, usually. Now, the Cybermen, there are exceptions. Right. But yeah, I liked this, and I thoroughly enjoyed the stories of the Sontarans. And, you know, the guy had to stay up where he was and
scare people
and have his meals in full costume and full potato head, and then was also doing the other character, and that was fun and interesting.
I think he died shortly. If I understood it correctly, I think he shortly died after this episode.
Yeah.
So that was sad. But anyway, this guy died. But anyway, no.
These things happen. It had nothing to do with him being a Sontaran.
Yeah. Though it didn't help. I think Tom or someone was saying he was probably not in the best of health during this time, but he was still going to do his part and stay in his makeup, and you know, so that was sad. But he certainly contributed a lot. You know, first and second, you know, he basically made the Sontarans. It was, I guess, the infamous story they kept repeating. Like in the script, it's called something else. But then when he said Sontaran, he's like, "Look, I know where I'm from. You know,
and I know how to pronounce it because that's who I am." Yeah, interesting. This is also the section of episodes where Tom Baker dislocated his shoulder, broke his collarbone.
Yes,
broke his collarbone.
Yeah, it was some. I'm trying to remember it. I feel like they just kept the scene in the film when it happened. I think maybe him and the Sontaran were in their combat or something like that. Yeah, and they basically, Phillip was like, "Did I break my doctor? We have to do a new doctor. What are we going to have to do here?" So,
and the answers to those questions were yes and no, and hide it as best we can.
That's right. Yeah, and it's interesting when showing the clips. You know, once you know. There are some scenes where Tom is, I think he's basically in a self-made cast. I mean, you really can't tell unless you really, really look that just that one arm's really close up to him. And I can't remember if it's actually wrapped with a belt or something, but it's very subtle. But once you know it, you can see it, but it doesn't really affect the performance. I mean, I'm sure he was probably hurting, but, you know, get through the day, I guess. But
yeah, and he seems quite jolly about it in retrospect. So,
and I imagine, and it's, you know, we don't have to go into the Tom Baker's psychology in this. But I think there's a bit of Tom being the new actor and like, no, I'm fine.
Fine.
You're bleeding. I'm good.
Flesh wound.
Please don't fire me.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, goodness. Now, this is only a two-parter. This is a rare two-part classic Doctor Who episode.
Yeah, and I'm not mad at it.
No, I thought it's it's very, it does what it needs to do. Everyone, something to do. Sarah gets lost in the pit. Harry gets lost in the pit.
Yep.
You get the different Earth.
And then they're in the same pit.
Yeah, you get the different humans, and the one's a traitor, and they have the beep camera, and all that.
Yep, and they're having to carry this heavy weight.
Oh, that's true. Point. That was acting.
Acting.
Oh, goodness. Yeah. So, yeah, I thought it was a good one.
Yep.
All right. And then we get to, and not that they've ever said that, but I assume the reason this was a two-parter is because what's next is Genesis of the Daleks, the 6-part episode.
Yes.
Shall you have a do?
I shall. Intercepted while traveling between Earth and the Ark, the Fourth Doctor and his companions are transported to the planet Skaro, thousands of years in the past, on a mission for the Time Lords to prevent the creation of the Daleks.
Now, this is only the second time, at least in our watch, beginning with the Third Doctor, that we've gotten a Time Lord mission.
Yep.
Well, that might not be true. Maybe all right, the third maybe. Because I remember the first one was the first Master appearance. Because the Time Lord's like, your Master's back. And that was sort of the first time. And then maybe the second time was the Three Doctors.
Yeah.
All right, so the third time then. But anyway, this is at least the Fourth Doctor's time of getting a Time Lord mission. So, interesting as we kind of, are here in the present day of Time Lords and Gallifrey and all that. But it's interesting because they're kind of still building the mythos because we haven't technically seen Gallifrey yet. I mean, we will eventually here. But, so all we got are these...
Did we not?
Well, we haven't in this series yet.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
sorry.
Yeah.
Carry on.
Tom will be the first one to travel there. Or the Fourth Doctor will. But anyway.
I thought the Second Doctor, isn't that... Was he not on Gallifrey when he was on trial?
I don't think so. No, it's been... I mean, I don't remember. But I'm fairly sure no, but people can correct me and yell at me if I'm wrong. Because I don't think they said the word Gallifrey until the Third Doctor.
Okay.
No,
all right.
I think I'm correct.
So he might have been on Gallifrey, but it was wildly unnamed at that point. Okay.
But anyway, so what do you think of this little bit of an epic, I suppose?
Yeah, and of course the age-old interesting, if you could go back in time and find Hitler as a baby, would you kill him? Mm-hmm. But even on a grander scale of not just homicide, but complete genocide. Which Sarah Jane's all for. She's like, yep, let's pull that plug. And the Fourth Doctor hesitates. And ultimately, I think he was going to do it and is thwarted. First time we see Davros?
Yes. Yeah, this is the grand debut.
The Genesis of Davros maybe would be a better title. High five.
Yeah, one thing about this, this is not it's a critique, I suppose, but it's great. Genesis of Daleks is great. But I remember watching this episode and then, going to the internet to express my opinion, which is very important. But anyway,
Did you write a strongly worded letter?
I did. But, I don't know, I'm going to say this and I probably don't mean it this way, but, I don't often look for Doctor Who for morality tales. I mean, that's my Star Trek fix usually. Nothing wrong, and Doctor Who sometimes does it. A lot of Peter Capaldi 12th Doctor stuff I can feel in the speeches and all that. But, with this one, the Fourth Doctor in this, oh, great, now I'm forgetting, the infamous phrase, do I have the powers? Do I have the right? Do I have the right with the two wires? It's very, and I don't mean this in an extreme way, sort of the pacifistic response of, do I commit genocide? Is the sin of the Daleks enough for the sin? I'm
not sure necessarily we can say, do I commit genocide is a pacifist.
Well, the fact that he doesn't want to do it.
Right, but even then, I don't think it's necessarily pacifist to say, am I in the right to wipe out an entire species? You want to look at Hitler as a baby. Maybe that's a pacifist thing. Maybe it's a pro-life thing. Mm-hmm. But an entire species, I think it deserves a pause no matter how hawkish you are.
And then to go, to have that momentary, I'll emphasize that struggle. And then the reason he doesn't is because there's like an announcement over the PA, like, never mind, Davros surrendered. And like, oh, well, never mind that. And then an episode or two later, when they're like, oh no, I guess we need to blow the thing up, there's this sort of like, and I don't know if this is how it actually happened in the writing process, but like, well, we don't really want the Doctor to kill people. So he's going to go do it. But the way they get killed is when the Dalek runs over the wire. So technically the Doctor hasn't pulled the trigger, no morality, just, if you happen to give the person a gun that's loaded, hold it in their hand, and then they pull the trigger.
Their fingerprints are on it.
It's like,
it's a little bit of a cop-out. But I'll tell you, I mean, obviously the question that is raised, however it happens to be resolved in this one, the question that's raised is important. But the thing that I really like about this one is the history of it. Because I feel like it really harkens back to the first Doctor when we first see Skaro? Skaro. And the people and the fight.
Oh, yeah.
And in that one, they're completely on the other people's side. That's where they land, and that's pretty much what they see. But I just find the history of this, where this just feels to me like a sequel to that episode to an extent. And I admire that a lot, because we're 10 years, not quite 10 years down the road, but many years down the road.
That would have been 63, and this is 74.
Oh yes, I know, so more than, harking back to that and pulling that history, I really like.
Yeah, and I think the interesting part with the Khaleds, I thought the other one's going to come to me and it's not coming out. The other people, which in the Daleks are just like the blonde Scandinavian people. Yeah. But anyway, it'll come to me when I go to sleep tonight. But anyway, the Khaleds and the other people. But anyway, that none of them are actually good. I mean, Davros aside, which that's a pretty big aside I'm putting, but they're both at war. They both want to kill the other people. They're both going to want to do whatever it takes.
To do horrific things.
Whether it's a big rocket or
And there are several scientists on the Khaled team that have a lot of questions about what they're doing and where they're going with this. And, there really is a lot of gray area that I think is good to see. Or worse.
Because I think when you have the Thals, even then, they're the ones who take Sarah Jane prisoner, and then have, like, the prisoner labor camp. And then, they're not the good guys by any means. I mean, obviously, Davros is the worst, but, I mean, though I do like, one thing that made me laugh, where like, Phillip Hinchcliffe is, like, during the process, is like, okay, I mean, I know they're Nazis, but, like, don't, make it obvious, and like you have like the jack boots and the gloves and the salute and the clicking of the heels. Like I think we went for full Nazi.
Again.
But I don't think that's a bad thing. I think, I mean, if that's what the Daleks are supposed to be, I think just go ahead and embrace that.
Yeah. Here's that tends to be the go-to for terrible authoritarian regimes. And I feel like that is lazy. Because it's really easy to look at those characters and go, Nazis, automatic bad guys. Whereas, as potentially we see, certainly in the modern world, in today's politics, it's not always that simple.
But I mean,
and that's why I think it's lazy, because it's real easy to go, Nazis, we'd never do that.
But I think I don't know, because I see the opposite. I mean, I see what you're saying, that once you kind of cartoonize them, then you're just being like, well, of course they're the bad guy. But then I think this story does that justice, because you sort of have the college society, especially the scientists, because Davros is just the chief scientist. He's not like the political person. But they're afraid to go against him. And they're not, well, I mean, you can argue what they're working towards with the war effort, but, if we're going to use, like, Davros and his side, or the Nazi, or and his dude, man, are the Nazis. Like, they're not Nazis, but they're like, we don't want to go against them, though, So, but yeah, and then you have when Davros goes over to the Falls and's like, I got a plan of how you can attack us, because, I'm a peacemaker. And then the Thal's like, sure, we'll do whatever you say. And so, I mean, I feel like everyone is compromised. Nobody wants to stand up to the obviously crazy person. And then, like, you have that moment, which, is framed in a weird way. I'm not saying in a bad way, but, like Dad was like, okay, I'll surrender, but only if we get to have a Lincoln Douglas debate. And so, give me my 15 minutes of time. And, you sort of have the people want, I forget what he says at this point, but maybe just like, we need strength or whatever he says. And they're like, no, democracy. And he's like, no, that's stupid.
But again, I think because they have already framed these as Nazis, it's easy to skip over the nuance. And I agree 100%. Like I said earlier, I like the fact that there are scientists who are like, this is not a cool idea. And there are a lot of sneaky things that Davros does. But because we've set it up as Nazis, a lot of that gets lost, I think. And it would be more interesting if the audience is going, oh, maybe. And sort of following that and therefore seeing how easy it can be to fall under that spell. And instead you've got an audience going, he's up to something because he's a Nazi and we know they're bad every time. So, yeah.
And I think one thing I like this about a Dalek story is that it's not a Dalek story. I mean, it's a Davros story. The Daleks are just tools. I mean, they inevitably... there's only like 3 of them, or 4, however many there are, 4. No more than 4, at least.
All running around on their knees.
Yeah, and I mean, at the end, of course, there's the predictable of them taking over. But they're not really there. I mean, they are, but I guess that's what I enjoy, and maybe why our challenges with Daleks is that, once they're the character, and then it's like, okay. But they're not the character, they're just the tool. Davros is the character.
Yeah.
And that's sort of interesting in as much as, the evil, terrible person can be interesting, but,
yeah,
him yelling and overacting and having a shopping bag over his head or whatever it was, during rehearsals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I'd forgotten about that. Yes, how he wore a bag over his head because he knew his sight would be very limited in the prosthetics. Yeah, interesting.
Cool. All right. Well, anything else on Genesis of the Daleks?
Nope, I've said all I want to say.
All right. Well, we'll go from one old baddie to the other old baddie, and that's Revenge of the Cybermen, which we have not seen we've never seen, at least, not since the second Doctor. So I'll do this last one. Oh. Arriving on Space Station Nerva in its distant past, the Doctor, Sarah, and Harry find its crew threatened by a mysterious plague. Discovering that things are not as they seem, they stumble upon a plan to commit genocide devised by the Doctor's old enemies, the Cybermen.
Yes. Back on. We are back on, yo.
Yep. It's a completely different space station, darling.
Is it?
It's completely different.
It's not really.
Okay. It's the same set.
It's the same set.
Yep. So we have this. We get cyber mats.
Yes. Yep. And I like those guys. The little cyber mats.
Yep.
And they are definitely killing people, not mannequins.
Yes. Yep. Save your money where you can, folks.
Hey.
Put a mirror in the background, make it look like a hallway.
Yeah.
What did you think of, what do you think of the Cybermen being used? I mean, again, it took them a while to show up, and you still had you had the puppet people, I forget what those aliens were called, on the planet, the gold planet, the planet of gold. And you had sort of the 2 sides to that planet, and then you had the bad guy, human, and the Cybermen. What'd you think?
A lot going on. They tried to change things up a little bit by having one of the Cybermen wear black headphones instead of silver ones. Whoop whoop.
Yep.
Yeah, it was fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, this is sort of the, I believe I'm correct in saying the redesign of the Cybermen. Because I think they were just like, oh, we'll use what we got. I'm like, what do you have? Oh, yeah, that's falling apart. Well, I guess we'll have to do new ones then.
Yes, yeah, and they talk about that. Again, as we see, what was it? There was something last season, maybe, where it was the Daleks, but the Daleks themselves were superlative to the plot itself.
They just showed up in that last episode.
Yeah, and it feels that way a little bit with the Cybermen, because you've got these two factions of the Kabuki warriors. And so the Cybermen are, and they're also here, and they're the head controllers. Felt a little unnecessary, to be honest.
And they carry bombs on their backs and all that stuff.
Yeah, they hook things up. But again, all of that could have been done with the Kabuki warriors.
Yeah, it was fine.
It was fine.
Yeah, and then the TARDIS finally appears, and they get into the TARDIS, and
off they go into the wild blue yonder.
So this season may have been a bit cursed because previously we had Tom Baker breaking his collarbone.
Yep.
This one, Liz Sladen almost drowns.
These things happen. She ended up in the boat. Isn't that what it was?
Yeah.
That she was in the boat.
Little motorized remote control boat, or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And the boat was not stopping, and you're about to go into a cavern that suddenly does not have a ceiling anymore.
Yeah, because they did this whole thing actually in a cavern, or a lot of it actually in a cavern, and had to break in after hours. And
I'm sure they had permission.
Yeah, whatever. You tell your story, I'll tell mine. And so that's interesting. Reminded me of when they had to go into the gold mines or whatever those were. In the little trolleys.
Oh yeah. It just reminded, because it was Genesis of the Daleks also had the trolley. Like, that was a thing of the season. Whenever you take Harry and Sarah Jane are taken prisoner, you throw them in a trolley and
little mine
doesn't
trolley
matter whether you're
a train track,
the Colleds or the puppet people of the Gold Planet.
Yeah,
everyone has a prisoner trolley.
These things exist.
Oh goodness! All right, but yeah, that's the first season. As it's labeled here in America, Series 1 of Tom Baker. So that's how. So what do you think of?
I liked it. I'm looking forward. We get Liz Sladen for another season.
I believe. I mean, yeah, at least. I mean, I don't know how they're going to get rid of Harry, but they're gonna.
We'll see.
Because I was reading in the notes that, and I've already forgotten what the next story is, but apparently the next story was actually supposed to be the finale, but instead it's not. So
yeah, there was some sort of timing thing. Yeah. But yeah, it'll be interesting. Yeah, I've enjoyed it. We had jelly babies.
That's right.
While we were watching these, so that was fun. Yeah, your first time eating jelly babies?
Maybe. If I had one, it's been years.
Yeah.
Because, I only know it, of course, from this. So, and it's not an American thing. So.
Okay. Well, there you go. Good times.
All right. Well, until next time, keep enjoying the Doctor's many adventures throughout time and space.
This is BBC Television.